welcome back to tunjitalks. It has been a hot second since I've brought you a video like this. This is not an episode of I Have a Thirst. However, this is something that hits a little bit close to home. And as a result, this is why I am making this video. So, some people may be familiar with Spac Nation.
They offered me whiplash. Yeah, be in a car, pretend you're in a car, you know, whiplash, claim that you're in an accident. They asked me to be a guarantor for a girl. I wasn't comfortable with that. Approached me about universal credit. I wasn't comfortable with that. I wasn't willing to do any bit of crime.
Fendi week, yeah? It's going to be Fendi. Offending people with Fendi. Come on, man.
The allegations were primarily around criminal exploitation of young people, particularly taking out fraudulent loans, setting up fraudulent businesses. They seem to be really pumping money out of these young people by telling them if they gave money as seed.
How you guys doing? Oh my God, this trip is trippy. Look at this trip. Show your trip, don't worry, show yours.
Recently, Spac Nation had an event where they went to a Morley's in southeast London. The reason why this hits close to home is because I used to teach in southeast London, specifically in a school that was near to this Morley's in particular. So there were often times when, you know, during lunch, I would go to this Morley's with a couple of my colleagues, we'll go back, etc. There'll be times when there'll be after school events, and you know the school would buy Morley's for the children from the local Morley's. And if you're not aware of what happened at this local Morley's, let's take a look.
We're currently in Peckham in real time, giving out free Morleys to the community.
It's grooming, by the way. They are grooming children, by the way. What they're doing by buying children free food is actually grooming, by the way. Churches are grooming children now. That's exactly what they're doing. They're going to lure them in by offering something that, of course, nobody's going to turn down. It's literally free food. This is literally grooming 101. I don't know if you remember the presentations that we used to get in school. This is a method that gangs used to use. I don't know if they still use it now, but they will buy young children food to lure them into their space. And this is exactly what this church is doing. I just wanted to come here because it seems like nobody is clocking on to the fact that that's what they're doing. It's so disgusting to target vulnerable children. Like, they are kids. And one of the posts even said, yeah, like, rep your school in the comments. Rep your school. These are children. These are children. And you're indoctrinating the children. And you're targeting children on purpose because you know that they are easily led.
Now, I couldn't believe it when this happened. And of course, many people are saying, you know, this could be a type of grooming. And I wouldn't disagree. However, when I used to teach at this school in particular, in southeast London, there was a particular video that we used to play in PSHE which talked about specifically gangs and grooming, but this is to do with the same thing. Let me show you a little clip of the video.
So one of the things we have to understand with young people is that young people are now being groomed. They've been targeted by gangs. They've been targeted by pedophiles. They've been just generally targeted. And one of the processes that groomers use is, and this is really, really simple, so I'll break this down to you, it gets more complicated, but one of the processes that drug dealers are using now is called the chicken shop grooming. And what that means is that they will wait outside schools and find out who goes to the chicken shop. Now, this is the important part. You remember your parents, as parents used to tell you, that nothing in life is free. And it's absolutely right. There's nothing in life that's free, because these groomers will buy your children food. And they will do that over a number of days, and then they will turn around and tell that child, you are now in debt. So let's take, for example, here, your child runs up a £50 debt. how's he going to repay that debt? He's not going to come home and tell you as a parent that he's just run up a £50 debt for food. So what he does is he looks at that £50 debt and he says to himself, how am I going to repay that? Now, this is where the dealer and the grooming comes in. So now the groomer turns around and says, well, all you have to do is deliver some drugs to that person over there. And so this to the young person seems like a really easy way of getting out of debt. So the young person agrees. But the problem is this, is that dealer is organized for that young person to be robbed whilst delivering those drugs. So now you've got a £50 debt, which has now turned into an almost £500 or £600 debt here. So now your child is £600 in debt. Your child is definitely not going to come home and tell you anything. Now the groomer's job is halfway done. So here's the other thing. So now, how do you get out of a £550 debt as a young person? You go back to the person who you trust, the person that groomed you, and you ask if they have solutions. And obviously they're going to have a solution. So the solution is this. Why don't you deliver some more drugs to cover the money you've initially were in debt for, the money you lost, and also the money that you can make from these drugs. So now your child is thinking, all I want to do with my life is repay these people because I don't know how I got into this problem, but I just want to repay the debt. So your child now accepts to do another drug deal. And then your child is robbed again. So now your child's got the debt's gone from £50 to £550. And now your child could be thousands of pounds in debt in a number of weeks. So here's where the bigger problem comes now. So now your child is in thousands of pounds of debt. And we're seeing up and down the country that children are going missing. You know, children are going missing for 2 or 3 weeks. We suspect that they are in cuckoo houses or crack houses selling drugs to pay off debts. So now your child is in thousands of pounds debts. And what we're finding is now parents are finding out that their children are in debt, and they're finding out because drug dealers are coming and kicking their doors open and telling them that they need to pay this money. So the whole point of this message is this. Is you can quite easily see that by accepting a £50 food bill, how your child can become thousands of pounds in debt and end up selling drugs, being arrested for selling drugs, actually end up being stabbed because if they can't produce the money, then there's always violence that follows. So you as a parent, carer, or a concerned youth worker, teach children this process. Teach them it's as simple as accepting food from a stranger and that nothing in life is free. And the most important thing about this whole message is this, is that grooming is one of the most natural and easiest processes known to man. We do it in relationships, we do it, but groomers are targeting vulnerable children to get them in debt. So take heed from this message, share this message if you can, teach it to a child, and it's just as basic as nothing in life is free, and accepting food from a stranger could end up in thousands of pounds of debt.
I'm not trying to throw shade at the school, not at all. What I think this is a result of is the following. I think it is a result of social media, in that when a young person is completely bombarded by social media, do they even have time to think? What do I mean by this? Social media, for instance, the biggest social media platforms that most children are on today is TikTok. And what do we know about TikTok? I've read a book on TikTok. I've done a book review on this. I've talked about this book here on this very channel. What do we know about TikTok? We know the following. That TikTok gives you a dopamine high. You get hit after hit after hit after hit every time you're scrolling on TikTok. So I think that, if TikTok wasn't a thing, I think more young people would be able to take a moment, be able to think and reflect. Oh, I remember when I did that PSHE session when our teachers went over XYZ. Or a young person could think, they could talk to their friends, do you know what? I don't think this is wise going to this, because it won't just be our school. There'll be kids from tons of schools all over Southeast who might be coming to this location. Of course, in the video you can see the police came. The location of that specific mall is, if you know, you can write it down in the comments. I won't say it, but the location of that specific mall it is on a main road, and the pavement, especially when you go past that segment where the children were lining up, is very thin. So it's dangerous of the part of the individuals from Spac Nation who organised this event. And if they were to come out and say, "Oh, we didn't know so many people would come," rubbish. They knew what they were doing. They were targeting a specific demographic. Why not go to let me think. Why not go to New Cross Gate? Why not go to New Cross Gate and hire out Joe the Juice in New Cross Gate and say to schools in that area, "Oh, we've hired out Joe the Juice. Come and get your free juice." Why not go there? Why Morley's? Why Morley's? So I don't know. For me, this whole thing, it was ridiculous. Spac Nation, have no time for them. Do not rate them in any way, shape, or form. It's incredibly disheartening when members of the community pull silly stunts like this. And if worse came to worse, someone could have got hurt. The police had to come, settle things down, but in the worst case scenario, someone could have got seriously hurt. So overall, what are my thoughts? This was a stupid event put on by Spac Nation to get clout. I'd encourage young people to steer clear of Spac Nation. There are countless allegations against Spac Nation. And I know some people might say, "Oh, they're only allegations," but let's be very clear. There is no smoke without fire. So I want to know your thoughts down below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I want to know down in the comments.